Sandland is a 2024 action RPG by Bandai Namco and based off of a 2000s manga by famed author Akira Toriyama. The game has you stepping into the shoes of the Fiend Prince Beelzebub as you try to save Sandland from all who threaten it, while bringing peace and water back to the people. The game received mixed reviews upon its release, and let's be honest, it didn't get a huge amount of attention. It was released just a month after an anime adaptation was also put out, and neither adaptation really made the splash that they were intending to. But for those who are fans of Akira Toriyama's work and have grown up reading the manga or grown up as fans of Dragon Ball or Dragon Quest or anything else that Toriyama has had his hands in, this was an absolute love letter and a great send-off to one of the greatest creators in the history of media. And without question, one of the best ways to say goodbye to Toriyama, as it was one of his final works prior to his passing. Now, what do I think of Sandland and all of its components? Let's find out. The game takes place in Sandland, a post-apocalyptic desert wasteland where the king forces his citizens to pay exorbitant prices to have any level of access to clean water. You play as the Fiend Prince Beelzebub as you and your ragtag group of friends try to take down the terrible regime of the king and his followers in order to successfully bring water back to the people of the kingdom. Or at least that's the first half. You see, Sandland is split into two distinct halves of the game. You have the original Sandland portion that is based off of the Akira Toriyama manga, but then you have an original second half to the story called Forestland. This is original content that Akira Toriyama helped work on prior to his passing. He helped with the creation of the story, the characters, the designs, the concepts, everything. And you can see his footprint in all of it. There are a lot of new characters added, a lot of new concepts, a lot that just wasn't in the original manga. Now, both sides of the story are very distinct in their own way. They have their own plots, they have their own focuses, but they do blend together. The first half of the story melds into the second half as you go along. And once you take out the main villain, the final boss of the first half, it just kind of goes into the second half afterwards. So it almost feels like there's a secret second section in a way. As you go along, the story is unfolded through various means. You have a base town in which you unfold story elements from side characters. These side characters will give you lore, give you information on just how they've survived and how people have kind of dealt with everything going on. And you get a lot of the world building this way. But the main plot is delivered mostly through our main characters. And you get to see a lot of how this works in terms of the horrors that this kingdom is inflicting upon its citizens, more so than in the manga or the anime. The game, because of it being a semi-open world action RPG, allows it to go much further than either of the previous mediums. It allows it to expand upon things in a very meaningful way and make the story that much more rewarding. Once you get into the second half, the story expands even further and gives this much deeper, bigger story that deals with a coup. It deals with kingdoms at war and even the likes of a nuclear superweapon that can destroy the world. To not give away too much, it gets crazy in the second half. Some people would say that the second half kind of like jumps the shark in a way. It's a little too much. The first half is a lot more lighthearted, a lot more comedy focused, and more simplistic, but I like how it expands. I like how it just builds out from that. It allows it to feel like a much grander finale than the first half gives to us. The story is pretty straightforward. Nothing really catches you off guard until the second half, and even then, it you understand kind of where it's going. But this is not always a bad thing. It allows you to fully grasp the situations at hand and makes it really accessible to most players, allowing for a just fun experience all the way through. As mentioned, you play as the fiend Prince Beelzebub in this game, for the most part at least. Beelzebub is the prince of demons, the son of King Lucifer, and a pretty childish, goofy little guy. He's a fun character who has a lot of personality and is always ready for a fight. His main actions in the game focus on doing what sounds fun to him. He has a good heart and he is a good person, but most of his motivation comes from what just sounds good at the time. And I kind of love that. He doesn't have like this grand motivation to save the world or anything. He's just doing what just seems right at the moment. And honestly, I think that's just a really fun motivation for a character to have. Now, you also have Thief. Thief is another demon and a contemporary of Prince Beelzebub. He acts as kind of the wise mentor figure to Beelzebub, while also a sidekick at the same time, which is a really interesting dynamic to have. Thief is very knowledgeable. He has a great knowledge of the things that have happened around Sandland involving humans, involving demons, just the lore. And he's able to deliver some of that as the game goes along. He's also pretty goofy himself, though. He enjoys riding vehicles just as much as Beelzebub. He enjoys a lot of the shenanigans, but he's also a bit cowardly. So a lot of times he'll be trying to get out of certain situations as much as he can. He's a really interesting kind of opposite to Beelzebub, and I really enjoy seeing his interactions with the Fiend Prince as well as other characters. We also have Sheriff Rao. Rao is a really fantastic character who delves more into not only the heart of this series, but the depths of its emotion and even trauma. Rao is a very hurt character, and without going too much into spoilers here, he's done some bad stuff in the past that he is trying to find resolution and forgiveness for, not from others, but from himself. And his story is kind of about finding peace and serving the kingdom of Sandland as a way of atoning for his actions. He is a lot wiser and just generally more put together than Beelzebub or Thief, but at the same time, he's more than happy to get involved in their shenanigans. He's more than happy to have fun as well. He's a bit of a goofball at times too, but he is typically the straight man to Beelzebub and Thief's wackiness. And our final member of the main cast is Anne, a mysterious woman who rides a motorcycle and is an ace mechanic. She has a heart of gold and joins forces with our heroes in order to achieve some, well, mysterious goals. I'll leave it there, as her story is a major plot point that is exceptionally well unfolded as the story goes along. There are also great villains in this game, such as General Zayu, or Supreme Commander Zayu, rather. Supreme Commander Zayu is the leader of the king's army. He is an old man who's barely being kept alive by medical technology and a flying pod, and is pretty psychotic. He is pure evil. He's the main villain of the first half. And I won't go around with like what his motivations are or whatnot, or where he's coming from with his ideals, but he is a great depiction of an absolutely despisable character. You also have General Are, an ally in the king's army who helps you out as the game progresses. You have the king himself and various other characters that you see along your journey. Some of these characters are more important than others. Some of them are for specifically your town that you build up and grow as you complete side missions. And some of the characters are just random NPCs who you discover throughout the kingdom. The second half introduces other characters, such as the intense General Bread, as well as a very interesting character named Muniel. I'm not going to go into spoilers with that, but Muniel is probably one of, in my opinion, the best characters in this game. You have a lot of characters who are introduced in the second half that have some huge roles to play. And some of them more important than others, just like the first, some of them NPCs. But there's some really notable characters that the second half really gives you some depth on, as well as expanding upon characters that you've already met. It's really exciting how it works out that way. The character work is impeccable. Toriyama has always been great with his characters. In fact, I would say it's probably one of his best traits with any series he's made. With Dragon Ball, with this and so many others, all of them are really highlighted by their character work. And this is no exception. Beelzebub is such a likable protagonist. You really enjoy playing as him through most of the game. There's a stealth section or two where you get to play as Thief as well, and it's not the most like exciting gameplay. It's mostly just stealth at that point, but getting to step into his shoes while he finds some things out is pretty fun nonetheless. And getting to see all the characters interact with each other, whether they're the villains, the heroes, or a combination of the two, it's really fun to see how they connect and how they talk to each other and the different conflicts of ethics and morals they have. This is what really shines in this game for me. But there's a lot more than that that this game has to offer. The gameplay of Sandland is pretty simple. You go around this semi open world and you find materials in order to craft things and build things. You find enemies to fight. You can fight either on foot or in tanks and other kinds of vehicles, which I'll get to in a moment. And you get to explore the worlds of Sandland and Forestland. It's pretty standard semi open world fare, nothing really surprising in how it plays. Now, there is a notable difference between playing by going around on foot or going around in a vehicle. When you're on foot as Beelzebub, you can attack with different punches and kicks and combos, as well as various kinds of specialty moves later on. This allows you to have a fun time with just some general shenanigans, general good gameplay as you go around. Nothing spectacular there. But some of the places that this game really shines are with its vehicles. Vehicle combat is a little more simplistic. As you get in the vehicle, you move around, you fire one of two weapons, you get two at a time, and that's pretty much it. Now, each vehicle has its own uses, though. You have the likes of a tank that goes around as a good combat vehicle. You have a motorcycle that is good for speed and getting around like large portions of the maps. And you have a hover vehicle that can go over like patches of water and stuff. so you can get to places that you couldn't explore with other vehicles. A lot of different vehicles for a lot of different uses. And each of them can be upgraded and changed in different ways. You can get a bunch of different parts, including weapons, suspensions, and whatnot, to build them up. You can upgrade their various statistics and make them better as you go along. You can also paint them, change their color schemes, add decals to them. You can really make each vehicle your own. And there's over like 400 different parts that you can attach to this. You can equip them to your vehicles, you can upgrade them, you can upgrade the vehicles themselves, and that increases your damage, maneuverability, reload, all of that. Some of the vehicle work in this game is some of the best gameplay that Sandland has to offer. And it's not always easy because you have to find parts out in the world as you're going along. Sometimes you have to craft them by getting materials for them, and sometimes it's hard to get some of those materials. Not every material is super easy to come by. And if you're a completionist trying to get every part in the game, it's going to take a long time to do. But you'll come across a good amount of them, and definitely what you need, just by exploring the world. You'll find all these different frames to create new vehicles. You'll find blueprints that'll allow you to upgrade them even further, and all kinds of stuff like that. There's a bunch of different vehicles, but you only have like 5 slots, I believe, to switch them out on, so you have to choose which vehicles to take with you at any given time. And usually you want a good variety. Like, oh, I want to be able to jump up on cliffs, so I'll take one of the multiple jumping robots. I want to be able to go around quickly, so I'll take one of the faster vehicles as well, and so on and so forth. There's a couple different vehicles for kind of each different attribute you want, and it's just a matter of which one you want to go for at any given time. You'll get everything as you need it, though, and you'll never be without a vehicle that you need pretty much ever, which is really useful, and I think that it allows for a good variety in the gameplay. The exploration of Sandland and Forestland is very fun. Getting to roam around, whether on foot or vehicle, find caves with different materials in them, find enemies to fight, whether they be dinosaurs or saber-toothed tigers or soldiers. It's just very fun. And it gets a little repetitive, undeniably, but it never feels like you're just going through the motions. It always feels like, oh, this is a new area. These are new people. I'm enjoying fighting them. I'm enjoying finding what I can find in this part of the map. I enjoy going to all of these different towers to uncover more of the map. You know, a very common open world mechanic. And everything always feels super rewarding. Everything feels like, oh, I'm making good progress by doing this. The world never feels empty. There's always something going on in every corner. And it's just fun to get out there and fight stuff sometimes. Just to go beat up some dinosaurs or terrorize an army base or something. You'll have a lot of fun going about and just playing the game, even if you're not accomplishing any missions at the moment, even if you're not doing anything important. And that's why there's some fun little side things that you can do just for that purpose, such as bounty hunts, in which you can just, go hunt down enemies to fight of varying degrees of difficulty, pretty much infinitely. They don't really run out, and you just get to keep fighting them over and over again. You get prizes from it, you get some things for completing them, and it's just a fun way to waste some time. Honestly, the gameplay in this is really top notch. I have no complaints. Visually, Sandland is very stylized. It has a very specific look to it that if you know any of Akira Toriyama's work, you will instantly recognize. It's not like the highest quality graphics that you would see in a game in 2024. You're not going to compare it to something like Stellar Blade or any of these big name games that are coming out recently, like Black Myth Wukong. You're not going to have it compared to those. It's more cartoony, it's more anime style, and that's what it's meant to be. And it handles that aesthetic very well. Akira Toriyama's character designs shine amazingly in this bright, fun, vibrant world. Whether you're in Sandland or Forestland, it just looks gorgeous. It's really nice to look at. The graphics move really well. The lip sync is not too bad, not as bad as it could be. And I just really enjoy the overall visuals of it. It's very pretty, and there are some inconsistencies, I will admit. There are some cutscenes where it's very clear the models are just kind of standing there talking to each other, but then there's others that are like just fully pre-rendered cutscenes that even have much better lighting and whatnot. I won't say exactly what happens, but there's this cutscene in the second half of the game, the Forestland half, when you're going through a base to rescue someone. And when you find that character, there's this really beautifully lighted cutscene. Like, the lighting on it is exquisite. It's a pre-rendered cutscene, and it looks amazing. Most of the cutscenes in the game don't look like that, though. And it's kind of disappointing that there is a little bit of an inconsistency with that, but nothing looks bad. Nothing looks like it's really terrible or out of place. When you do get those really good cutscenes, they do stand out a lot, and they're usually very important cutscenes. But the ones that are just kind of like the models standing there just talking to each other and everything without a lot of like exquisite action or lighting or whatnot going on, it's like they're still good. They still look good. It's not just like dead-eyed models like lip flapping at each other. They actually do have good motion with them still. They do have like believable action and everything. Even if some of like the characters like hand motions and stuff are repeated and just, vague things. Like, you'll see the character of Rao like put his hand on his chin sort of like this when he's like thinking or trying to work his thoughts through something. You'll see that a lot. And you'll see like him like put his hand out like this a lot. Stuff like that. Repeated animations. It's a thing, again, a lot of these games have. It's pretty normal. And for a game like this, it's expected. It doesn't hurt the overall quality of just how it looks. And I don't think it really takes away from too much. Overall, I think the visuals are really good. I think it's graphically well made, and it just has a few things that could have been a little better, but hey, nothing that actually hurts the game. The music of Sandland is very atmospheric. There's not a lot of like big themes to it. There's like maybe one or two like really grand themes. And I would say that would be kind of the main core theme of the game, which you hear at the very beginning when it shows like the title screen and everything. And I would also say the final boss battle theme is also pretty grand and amazing. But most of the music in this is very simplistic. It's atmospheric music. It's simple, it's nice, it's calming, and it really just sells the vibes of the locations to you. You go into a town and it has this nice, calming, friendly music. You're exploring the wilderness and it's kind of mysterious and whimsical. It really sells wherever you are. But nothing is like hugely standout. Like, you watch or you play another game a bigger AAA game, and you're going to hear like some more knockout themes, some big themes that you're going to remember. Like everyone remembers the Halo theme. The Baldur's Gate 3 theme is pretty popular, and so on and so forth. These are themes that have made impacts. The music in this won't do that. I mean, I love it. I think it's fantastic, and personally, I think it's just great, easy listening music to vibe to. But it's not going to leave an impact on the gaming industry like a lot of other music has. It's nothing like the music in Hades or in Undertale. It's not going to like really inspire people to make even better music down the line. No. But it's not really meant to do that. It's, again, meant to sell the vibes, meant to just make it feel natural as you're going around the game and exploring all these different areas. Again, there's a couple themes really top notch, really exciting, really bombastic, but only a couple. And they're only there to really sell those big moments. But they are pretty great. The final boss battle theme is super hype. It really sells that you were in the final boss battle. Um Not to go further than that, but it is really exciting. Yeah, the music in this is exactly what it needs to be. It's nothing special, but it shouldn't be with a game like this. Sandland is an excellent game with a very investing story, charming as hell characters, and it's just great to look at and fun to play. A really enjoyable game that may not be the best. It may have some issues here and there, it may have some things that could have been improved on, but overall, it does exactly what it reaches out and tries to do. And that's the best you can really ask for. Honestly, I really loved it. It was probably one of the most fun experiences I've had playing a game in quite a while. And I would be very happy to play this again in the future, or even just watch other people play it as well. It's a game that really, really stands out to me in all the best ways. I give it a 9 out of 10 and a recommendation to play it yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the Sandland video game, as well as maybe comparisons to the manga and anime. And for now, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.